Tired of your car insurance rate going up, even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/Libsyn today. That's JERRY.ai/LIBSYN.
This podcast is part of the History Shorts Network. Got a history show? We're growing, and we want great voices. Find us at historyshortspodcast.com.
Hey listeners, this is Peter, and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. In the autumn of 1944, the German military position was beyond salvage. The Western Allies had broken out of Normandy and were advancing toward the Rhine. The Soviet Red Army had pushed German forces back hundreds of miles and was approaching the borders of the Reich itself. The professional German military, the Wehrmacht, had conquered most of Europe 4 years earlier, but was now shattered, depleted, and incapable of stopping what was coming. And so Hitler created a new army. He called it the Volkssturm, or the People's Storm. It was made up of men between 16 and 60 who had not already been conscripted. In practice, it was made up of boys and old men, and it was sent to fight the most powerful military forces on Earth. Our history brief today returns to some strange history. A quick word from our sponsors.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic!
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
This day in history. On May 10, 1940, Germany launched its blitzkrieg invasion of Western Europe, attacking France, Belgium, and the Netherlands in a rapid and devastating campaign. Story of the day. Hitler signed the decree creating the Volkssturm on September 25, 1944. The announcement was made public on October 18th, the anniversary of the Battle of Leipzig in 1813, when Prussia and its allies had defeated Napoleon. The choice of date was deliberate. The Nazi propaganda apparatus presented the Volkssturm not as an act of desperation, but really as a heroic people's uprising. The entire German nation rising as one to defend the fatherland, just as the Prussians had risen against Napoleon a century earlier. The reality bore no resemblance to that mythology. The men and boys of the Volkssturm were those that the Wehrmacht had already determined it could not use. They were too old, or they were too young. They had disabilities or health conditions that previously exempt them from service. They worked in industries deemed essential to the war effort, or held jobs that the state had considered more valuable than frontline combat. Now, none of that mattered. The Reich needed bodies. Volkssturm would provide them. Estimates of the total number of conscripted vary, but most historians place the figure at somewhere between 1 and 2 million men across the final months of the war. They were organized into local battalions under the control not of the Wehrmacht, but the Nazi Party itself, specifically under Heinrich Himmler and the regional party bosses who ran each district. This chain of command was significant. The Wehrmacht had at least some professional military culture, some tradition of tactical judgment. The party bosses who commanded the Volkssturm had just ideology. The equipment situation was, by any military standard, quite catastrophic. Volkssturm units received whatever could be scraped together from depleted stockpiles: outdated rifles, captured foreign weapons for which ammunition was scarce, and the Panzerfaust, or an anti tank rocket launcher that was cheap to produce and required minimal training and was effective at close range against armored vehicles. The Panzerfaust became the weapon most associated with the Volkssturm and with the Hitler Youth boys who were increasingly filling its ranks. Uniforms were partial or non existent. Many Volkssturm members went into combat wearing civilian clothes with an armband reading Volkssturm Wehrmacht, the only thing identifying them as soldiers rather than civilians. Under the laws of war, fighters without proper uniforms and insignia could be, and sometimes were, shot as irregulars rather than taken prisoner. The men who designated the Volkssturm appear not to have considered this as a significant problem. The military effectiveness of the Volkssturm was almost uniformly negligible. Units that had received a few days of training, armed with weapons they had barely understood, commanded by party officials with no military experience, ordered to hold positions against professional Soviet or Allied forces. Well, the outcome was rarely in doubt. Most Volkssturm units dissolved quickly under contact with the enemy. Some surrendered immediately, and some simply ran. A small number fought with a desperation born of genuine belief or fear of what would happen if they did not. But the military history of the Volkssturm is largely a history of futility, of units fed into positions they could not hold, buying hours or days that made no strategic difference to the outcome of the war that was already decided. What was not futile from the Nazi leadership's perspective was the symbolism. The Volkssturm was not primarily a military instrument. It was a statement of ideology, the demonstration that National Socialism would resist to the last German, including the youngest and the oldest, before it ever admitted defeat. The human cost was staggering. Casualty figures for the Volkssturm are difficult to establish precisely. The chaos of the final months, the absence of reliable records, and the speed of the collapse all make definitive numbers impossible. Estimates of Volkssturm dead range from 175,000 to several hundred thousand. Among those dead were boys of 16 and 17, members of the Hitler Youth who had grown up inside the Nazi system, who had been indoctrinated since childhood with the belief that dying for the Fuhrer was the highest possible calling. Some of them died in Berlin's streets in April of 1945, fighting Soviet tanks while Hitler sat in his bunker 30 feet underground, writing final proclamations about the cowardice of the German people. He was 56 years old, and he had sent boys of 16 to die in his place. He killed himself on April 30th, 1945. The Battle of Berlin, the final Soviet assault on the German capital in April and May of 1945, was where the Volkssturm met its end. The defenders of Berlin included regular Wehrmacht troops, SS formations, and Volkssturm units, all men and boys fighting street by street through a city that was being systematically destroyed around them. The Soviet forces that took Berlin were battle hardened, numerically overwhelming, and motivated by years of accumulated fury at what Germany had done to the Soviet Union. The result was not a battle, so much as annihilation. Berlin fell on May 2nd, 1945. The war in Europe ended 6 days later. The Volkssturm lasted approximately 7 months. In those 7 months, it consumed hundreds of thousands of lives, most of them people who had no meaningful choice about their participation. It achieved nothing of military significance. It delayed nothing, and it saved nothing. What it demonstrated, however, with a clarity that no apologetic person for the Nazi regime has ever been able to obscure, was the fact that it was the logical endpoint of a system that had always regarded human beings as raw material for its purposes. The Wehrmacht had been built from professional soldiers. The Volkssturm was built from whoever was left. The History Brief. The following comes to us from Strange History by the editors of the Portable Press. In the winter of 1776, Commander George Washington led his troops to Trenton, New Jersey, to launch a surprise attack on the Redcoats. A farmer spotted the army and he rushed to warn the Brits, who were commanded by the Hessian Colonel Johann Rall. It was Christmas, though, and the colonel was too busy drinking wine and playing cards to talk to anyone. So the farmer simply left a note in English. Unfortunately, the colonel spoke German and did not bother to have the message left for him translated. The result? The colonists won the battle as well as the next one in Princeton, and historians say those were both crucial battles in the war. It gave the soon to be Americans the morale boost that they needed to ultimately win the Revolutionary War. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.